It is. It is. The Mount Rushmore of Kansas City sports icons. Tom Watson would certainly be up there. In about 10 years, maybe Mahomes is already up there. I don't know. But we'll talk some NFL football. Matt Lane comes up an hour from now. But we're hanging out at Hallbrook Country Club. Again, the top 51 professionals and amateurs competing to be the best in the city. And what a great day to be out here without Sterling with us. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. The man who probably considers himself one of the top 51 professionals or amateur golfers in Kansas City. I think – Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Sterling is one of the top 51 golfers at the radio station.
I actually thought
he is.
I thought he was lying about him going to play with his buddies. He's going to be in that tournament that you're at right now. Like, he's going to be playing in it.
That's right. That's right. He's under a different name.
Yes,
it's
he didn't want the
Stones.
pressure. Exactly. He didn't want the pressure of all of us knowing and rooting for him and stuff like that. So he just lied, kind of the IM-12 situation from Benchwarmers. He just made up a fake USGA card. So
yeah, no, it's Hurling
I guess
Stones.
It's not fake when he's bestowed when he's like a scratch. He's a scratch golfer.
If I would have known he was playing in this, I would have just stood by and just yelled "jackass," constantly at him every time he was in his backswing.
Right in his backswing. Yep.
Every single time. But no, he is actually in St. Louis. Or driving to St. Louis. I'm not sure. He's going to the Royals game. I don't think he's taking a double dip today. I don't think he's getting a double shot of Jack today. I don't think that's happening. Maybe he will. I mean, why not? You're there in St. Louis. I do think he is playing some golf today, but then heading out to see the Kansas City Royals play the St. Louis Cardinals. That game was postponed from last night to a doubleheader today.
He was worried about it being postponed the day he was going. He actually has the opportunity to go to 2 games the day he's going, so it worked out for him.
I texted him. I'm like, dude, are you going to both games? He's like, no, we're playing golf before. I'm like, dude, you got to cancel the golf and go to both. I'm sorry. I know that you had plans to play some golf there in St. Louis and then go to the night game, but you had a gift. You got a gift from the rain gods. Mother Nature gave you a gift to go see the Royals twice today in St. Louis, and you're turning that down to go and play some golf. You know what you can do anytime, any day of the week. You can probably play some golf. You know what you can't do anytime? Be in St. Louis and watch a doubleheader of the Royals and Cardinals with Jack Caglione out there. You can't do that any day of the week because I don't know the next time there'll be a doubleheader there. Instead, he's turning that down to go play some golf. Whatever. His choice, his prerogative. That's fine. He's Bobby Brown of the group. But we are hanging out here. The Watson Challenge, it is a fantastic event because, look, at the proceeds go to benefit the First Tee of Greater Kansas City Scholarship Foundation, which inspires youth through golf that impacts the lives of young people in the local community, providing learning facilities and educational programs that promote character development, life-enhancing values through the game of golf. And Tom Watson starting this event a long, long time ago, and it is here at Hallbrook for the 3rd time. That goes on today, tomorrow, and Saturday. We'll be here till 2 o'clock. Again, the show lines up. Matt Lane at 11 o'clock. Derek Schultz coming up at noon. Sports or Leisure at 1 o'clock. And we'll talk a lot of baseball along the way as well. Jack Johnson is with us. Jack, I was disappointed last night because there was no Royals baseball. Pumped to get a second night of watching Jack Caglione and his average exit velocity of 97.3, which, by the way, went and looked at Baseball Savant. 99th percentile of hard hit rate, 99th percentile of exit velocity, 99th percentile of barrels that he's hit. Like, it's weird. In one game, he's just 99th percentile. Expected batting average of like 290. Even though he was 0 for 5, just showing you what he was able to do in putting the ball in play 5 times and coming away with an 0 for 5. And so I was disappointed last night, but we do get a couple of games today. I was also disappointed, Jack, because we were going to see Caglione in right field last night. Well, we're going to see him in right field. I do wonder if we see him both games in right field, or do we see a game at first base, second game? I don't know if it depends on, like, if he's in right field, maybe first game, we'll see if Salvi's going to be catching the first game. So then Salvi will more than likely DH the second game unless they give him the day off. So then DH wouldn't be available if you had Vinny Pasquantino there and Jack playing first base. I would say, we'll probably just keep him in right field. We'll find out. But I wanted to get your thoughts, Jack, on your trip to St. Louis, I know it was a couple of days ago, and that debut of Jack Caglione, still the only game to go off of. And what seemed to be, even in St. Louis, there felt like there was a buzz around the stadium, at least from afar, of Jack Caglione's debut. And it felt like around Major League Baseball, people were paying attention to the debut of Jack Caglione. And I don't remember the last time a Royals player made a debut that it felt like people around. I mean, the Pat McAfee show, Jeff Passan was on to talk about Caglione's debut in Major League Baseball. Bobby Witt's debut was opening day, so that was a big deal anyway. Alex Gordon's debut was opening day. So a debut like this, to this level, with a guy that can hit, these 450-foot home runs, it felt like from afar there was a buzz in the stadium even for a Royals player making a debut there on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the more anticipated debuts in Royals history. And unfortunately for Alex and for Bobby, being on opening day, it wasn't just opening day. They were for bad Royals teams. I mean, that 2022 squad went on to lose 95 games. And the team that Gordon debuted for lost over 90 games, I'm sure of it. I just don't know where in that 90 range. But for Jack Caglione, getting to debut with his prospect status, right, the hype around him, and this team is over 500 and a half game out of a playoff spot. So it does add an extra element to this. And, yeah, the buzz was legitimate. It was real. It certainly lived up to all of that hype prior to the game. You had St. Louis people coming over to listen to his press conference and to J.J. Piccolo. And, it's funny because you go back, 15 to 20 years, and how many Royals media personalities were going over to watch Albert Pujols in the dugout, even though it wasn't his debut, but just when they were in town, you wanted to hear what Albert Pujols had to say. And for Jack Caglione, there was 30 people in the dugout just wanting to know what he had to say, what the nerves were like, how he'd been prepped for this, what the phone call was like. And to go 0 for 5, I'm sure that's not what he wanted to do. In fact, I know it's not what he wanted to do. But the next best thing you can hope for if you're hitless on the day is you had 4 or 5 really good at-bats. And whether that be working the count or that be hitting the ball hard. I know we've talked about that in the show of no matter what level you played at, if you hit a ball hard and you come back to the dugout, nobody's saying, well, do something different next time. There was nothing he needed to do different on a handful of those at-bats other than maybe let's try lifting the ball, because on some of those ground outs where it was 112 and 114, he gets a few inches below that and launches the ball. It's going 460 or 470 into right field. And I have no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. That's definitely coming. But I don't have any issue with 0 for 5. And usually when you see that in the box score, you go, well, he must have been overmatched in game 1 because he was the only guy not to get a hit.
Yeah, and he did take a pitch in his third at bat when it ended up being the second out of the 6-run inning. He was the first and third out there. It's odd that a guy goes 0 for 5, makes 2 outs in 1 inning. Sandwiching the Royals scoring 6 runs in that inning, what they haven't done in 50 games this year, scoring 6 runs in an entire game. They did that in the inning. And yet you still come away with the feeling of a successful debut. And I know it was touched on and discussed certainly after the game and yesterday as well. But I just my feeling on this, and I find myself being of two minds here, in that I think there is a greater than 0% chance that Jack Caglione just being in the lineup had an impact on the Royals scoring the 10 runs. Okay? He's the only guy in the lineup that did not get a hit. And again, he made 2 of the 3 outs in the inning in which they scored 6 runs. What the impact was, I don't know. If it was adding a little juice to the clubhouse, if it was adding a little juice and an excitement, if it was reinvigorating guys, giving them a new lease, giving them sort of a fresh feel, and going out there with new approaches at the plate and not just sort of a feel of, this is a mundane game number, 60-something of 162, and just, it's the grind. And here we are in St. Louis, and then we'll wake up tomorrow in St. Louis and wake up again, and then we'll go to Chicago and wake up there, and then we'll head home and sleep on our own beds after that against the Yankees, and it's just on and on and on. So maybe it was, even for that one night, it was a little bit of juice added in to the lineup. I feel like, his bat being in the lineup, if it did sort of motivate from a standpoint of this guy's in the lineup. Hey, let's go play some great baseball. Let's go have some fun. Here we go. Now we're going to make this run because this guy's going to help us. Or, well, this guy's coming in, so don't forget, I'm Bobby Witt Jr., so, I mean, I'm still going to have – I'm Vinny Pasquantino. I've been here for a couple of years. I know he's here, and we're excited to have him here. But, come on, it's still, our team. And I feel like, Jack, if that's the case, if the lineup was – if it was impacted from a standpoint of, hey, they're pumped or motivated because he's in the lineup, I would rather it be that they are in that game with Jack in the lineup or not, that they simply were having good approaches to the plate, at the plate, squaring up the baseball. Vinny's come through a number of times in his career in that situation. Bobby Witt said after the game, it's getting hot, it's heating up, so our bats need to heat up. That's what he's typically done. I would rather it be that because, for obvious reasons, one, that has staying power, but two, if it's about, oh, we're excited that Jack's here, so let's go out and play this way, well, that's going to eventually wear off. Like that excitement of like, oh, Jack's in the lineup, we're reinvigorated. That's going to wear off. He's going to be in the lineup every day, and it's going to be now it's game 85 of 162 and 86 of 162. Yes, he's going to run into some, certainly, and I think he's going to have an impact in the lineup on a day in, day out basis. And I think I had him at 21 home runs the rest of the season, and so we'll see what ends up with that. But I'd rather it be that the guys just simply are taking the approach of like, let's break out offensively. Let's do the things we know we can do rather than we feel like we've got a fresh jolt of energy, and that's why we played like that, because that doesn't have staying power.
No, it doesn't. There's likely one other game on the schedule where you're going to have that type of buzz before the game, and that's next Tuesday when it's the home debut against the New York Yankees. I mean, today there will be a different feel. It's a doubleheader. You're probably not going to have that big of a crowd in the afternoon game. Probably will change for the night game just because people will be off work. But now that the first couple of bats are out of the way, the next thing that needs to happen is he gets his first big league hit and his first big league home run. But then it's going to be an everyday occurrence that he's just in the lineup, and you get used to that. And there's not going to be that surprise of when you see his name on the scorecard, when you see his name in the box score. And for this team, maybe that was a thing they used on Tuesday where all of the focus was on him. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. went up in his first at-bat, and he homered. And, yeah, everybody's there to see Bobby Witt Jr. as well, but people were waiting for the number 6 hitter to come up in the lineup. And that didn't happen until the second inning. And once he got out in his first at-bat, then it allows Nick Lofton and Drew Waters and Kyle Isbell to relax a little bit because people aren't as focused on those at-bats. But that is going to change because Jack Caglione will be somebody that you definitely want to watch up at the plate, but it's not going to be a thing where what we saw on Tuesday was people standing every time he went to the plate, pulling out their phone. They'll have people that are recording, certainly, but you're not going to have the standing ovations over and over and over again. You're not going to have those pregame interviews where you have 30 people in the dugout and it feels like it's a playoff game. There is going to be some normalcy to it coming up, and you're hoping that what you saw on Tuesday is not necessarily the normalcy because they're not going to put up 10 runs a game, but some of those at-bats and some of those hard-hit balls, they're going to continue to find the outfield grass. They're going to continue to find the gaps, and hopefully, because this team's dead last in home runs, some of those balls are going to find their way over the fence, and it's going to produce more runs.
And I do feel like, what needs to be acknowledged and talked about a little bit too is, well, yes, Jack Caglione's bat was in the lineup. Q also moved Garcia to the 3 spot and slid Vinny Pasquantino to 4, Salvi down to 5, Jack to 6. Drew Waters, is batting 7th today. Nick Lofton was batting 7th the other day, and then we see, Drew Waters. But from that standpoint, it just feels different. And I know India feels like he's breaking out. Vinny Pasquantino has been swinging the bat really well over the last month, 40 games or so. Bobby Witt's going to be Bobby Witt. Salvi, I am concerned about, Salvi this year because eventually a guy his age that's put on as many, trips around the track as he has, that it starts to wear down a little bit. Drew Waters has looked pretty good since he's been in the up with the big leagues. Nick Lofton looks different than what he has in his previous stints with the big leagues. Kyle Isbell is playing a really good, quiet season this year, especially at the plate. The names are there. Like, you see the lineup, and it should be, at this point, 6 or maybe 7 deep. Like, if Waters is just a 720 or a 730 OPS guy, first of all, settle out of court right now for the rest of the season if that's what he's going to give you in left field. But I think part of that 10 runs that they score is guys hitting what closer to the back of their baseball card says that they're going to be, while also the lineup being elongated to a degree that early in the season we felt like it was 1, 2, 3. India wasn't really hitting well. Bobby's being Bobby. Vinny's going to figure it out. Salvi. But then, okay, well, you get Garcia at some point in the lineup, down towards the end before he started to move up. It just felt like there were 2, maybe 3 guys in the lineup that could produce, and there were so many holes along the way. And now you can make a reasonable case that, hey, they can go 7 deep where you feel like at any point that guy's going to drive in a run, hit a double, extra base hit, get on base, what Jonathan India has been doing ahead of Bobby Witt. And once it gets hot, that guy starts getting hot. His July is as good as anybody's month in baseball, Bobby Witt, and so we're still a month away from that. But I feel like the 10 runs also has to be chalked up to the fact that Garcia's put in the 3 spot. It starts to slide down, and you can make a case for 7 guys deep in this lineup to where you feel somewhat confident about coming through, especially if they start playing to the back of their baseball card.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping for. And to have a different look in the lineup, whether it be, who you're hitting where, or you have an actual player that can change that, you're hoping that the guys around those star players, right, Bobby Witt Jr. and Jack Caglione, and hopefully this is, the real Maikel Garcia that can hit over 300. But bringing up Drew Waters, OPSing a little north of 720, it's exactly what you want from him. Kyle Isbell being a 284 hitter, that's probably shooting a bit high, but if he can be a 260, 265 hitter, that's something that you can really count on with his defense. You can feel like that's a good spot for a 9-hole hitter. But to me, when I look at this lineup now with what Jonathan India has been doing over the last week, Bobby Witt Jr., we all know what he can do. Vinny Pasquantino starting to drive the ball a little bit more and drive in more runs at that. Jack Caglione gives you the look of, even if he's hitting, let's say, $180, and you don't hope for that or anything, but we can expect there will be stretches where he is a bit overmatched. Maybe he has a bad series or 2, but there's always going to be that fear from a pitcher of a mistake can cost me a lot here. Bobby Witt Jr. certainly has the 30 home run power. We've talked about that. Vinny Pasquantino, 20 to 25. Salvador Perez has 30 home run power. But Salvi's also 35. And Vinny's never really been seen as that true home run threat. Bobby is, but you also want him to be a table setter where he can, lead off the game with a double or lead off an inning with a double. Caglione is the only guy in your lineup that when he comes to the plate, you go, he might hit a home run here. If there's a mistake, he can put one 450 feet from home plate, and that can change the feeling and the energy around a lineup, and especially one that doesn't hit a lot of home runs. All those 1-0 losses, those 2-1 losses, now this can change that, where he is looked at as that guy that can change the game on one swing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens today. 2 games for the Royals. It'd be nice to go out and get both of them. They've got Noah Cameron and Cole Reagans on the mound, so Cole Reagans making his return from the IL with the groin strain, and Noah Cameron making his case to be the guy that stays in the rotation, because what we've seen from Michael Lorenzen the last 3 times out, if Noah Cameron goes out there and pitches the way that Noah Cameron has been pitching, or even close to that, there is just no way that you can take him out of this rotation right now. If you are willing to bring up Jack Caglione, and whether it's Super 2 status or not, whatever, if you're willing to bring him up at this point, then there is no reason to move Noah Cameron out of the starting rotation for a Michael Lorenzen to make sure he stays in. If you are that serious about a game here or there that Jack Caglione can make a difference in, then certainly Noah Cameron going to the mound every 5 games makes a difference as opposed to what Michael Lorenzen has looked like as of late. And maybe he can be a guy that moves to the bullpen. You don't have Stratton anymore. Maybe he can be that guy. We know that he's pitched out of the bullpen before, so maybe he can be that particular player on this Royals roster. But Noah Cameron going today to solidify, in my opinion, a spot in the Royals rotation. I think he should already have it, whether he pitches lights out today or not. I think he should be the 5th guy in this rotation. We'll see what happens moving forward. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. Jack, appreciate you hanging out a little bit with us. We will talk with Matt Lane coming up at 11 o'clock. Derek Schultz coming up at noon from Indianapolis, getting the Pacers side of it, playing some sports or leisure. We'll talk a little bit about the Show Me Sports Investment Act passing the Senate, heading to the House, the new dollar figure that goes along with the renovations of $1.15 billion. We'll discuss that as well. We're hanging out at Hallbrook. It is the Watson Challenge, founded by legend Tom Watson and the 51 top professionals and amateurs here in the Kansas City area competing to see who the best golfer is in Kansas City, and it all goes to benefit the First Tee of Greater Kansas City Scholarship Foundation, which does a fantastic job of inspiring youth through golf with learning facilities and educational programs and character development and life-enhancing values all through the game of golf. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone right after this. Here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, Jason Anderson with you. Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We are hanging out at Hallbrook Country Club. It is the Watson Challenge, founded by Tom Watson. The third year that this event is being held at Hallbrook Country Club. Spectators are welcome to come out and see the top 51 professionals and amateurs in the area competing to see who the best golfer is in the Kansas City area. And that's going on today, tomorrow, and Saturday, with all of the proceeds going to benefit First Tee of Greater Kansas City, the Scholarship Foundation. What Tom Watson has wrapped his arms and energy and time around in helping change lives and impact lives of young people in the community by providing those learning facilities and educational programs that promote character development, life-enhancing values through the game of golf. And that is with the First Tee of Greater Kansas City. Next Tuesday, there is the home debut of Jack Caglione. And there's also the sales staff that'll be doing the 999 challenge out there because it's $1 dog, so that, helps out for saving a little bit of money.
The Royals.
What did I say?
No, I'm saying the whole sales staff is going out. That would help the Royals of the 999 challenge if they're all doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the plan. At least some in the sales staff. I don't know how many are going to be participating in this. I know Marucci will be participating in this. But here's my question: is I thought the 999 challenge, because I heard him talking about this, and they were talking about strategy, like, all right, just eat all the hot dogs quickly, like Kobayashi, just take it down, like Jaws, Joey Chestnut, and then consume your beers as the game goes along. I thought the challenge was you could only have one hot dog and beer per inning.
That's what I thought.
In the first inning, you have one. In the second inning, you have your second. In the third inning, you have your third, and so on and so forth. But I don't know if if those are the actual rules for the 999. I'm not sure if that is what actually takes place. It just says 9 dogs, 9 beers in 9 innings.
Yeah, I'm looking at the. It looks like the Cincinnati Enquirer is what AI pulled up, and it says there's no rule here about how many per inning. It just says 9 in 9 innings.
Well, that's cheating. That's dumb. I don't like that. The real challenge should be you have 1 per inning. It's not the strategy of, can I have 9 of these in 9 innings? Can I have 9 of that in 9 innings? No. So what you're doing is just stuffing down hot dogs. The point of the challenge is that it takes a while to finish this, so your body adjusts to it being full.
Right.
And then your body is saying, yeah, I don't want any more food, but you have to press on.
But also the challenge is
push through it.
A quick inning means you're going to have to really power through a hot dog and a beer, and then you might have a little reprieve, a little, break in a longer inning, maybe a pitching change. You can get it back, but there's no strategy. I mean, there is strategy, but there's a lot more strategy to the 1 per inning rule. So I think that should be – I mean, the NFL changes rules every year, so we can just add that to this game, right? There's no owners meeting or anything we need. We could just say that you have to do this 1 per inning for the 999 challenge for sales, or what's Murray?
I don't know.
What's Easton looking like as I'm saying this? Does he look
Easton
confident?
Is shaking his head no.
Okay.
He's saying that he's going to be Joey Chestnut, and he's going to eat all of the hot dogs quickly and then just consume the beer as it goes along. And I think that because I know Jake was talking about it and Steven and those guys were discussing it. I don't know. I don't think that's in the true nature of the rules.
I don't either.
Unless, of course, the rules say that it does not matter, because it's always like you Google search and the AI comes up, but how believable is that? Because sometimes things that you know are true or not, and an AI, something comes up, you're like, well, that's not true.
Right.
But, the AI says that participants aim to complete the challenge by consuming 1 hot dog and 1 beer per inning.
There we
go. Again, that's the AI overview. It doesn't mean that that's actually how it's done. So I don't know. I think it's. I think it should be one per inning.
After we figure out college football and the salary cap and all that stuff, they need to get a committee on this challenge here and figure out the rules so that everyone's kind of under the same umbrella. Like, it needs to go college football and paying scale, and then the 999 challenge for, things that need to get fixed as far as sports go.
So Sandy brought up an interesting point, and a couple of texts have come in and said the same thing. Well, if they don't sell beer after the 7th inning, what do you do?
Oh, man. So
you
have
buy
to start
3
with
of them.
2. Well, or you could start with 2 in the parking lot, because that's what I see on this Reddit challenge where he says, I'll start in the parking well, can't do this. I'll start in the parking lot with 7 and do 2 at the stadium, but you could also do.
But again, if you can just do it in a 9-inning game, well, then that's different.
Right.
You finish your 9th beer by the 7th inning, because do they sell hot dogs in the 9th inning too? I mean, eventually they're shutting down the concessions.
True. They got to
at some point
packing up. Yeah.
And I wonder how many hot dogs that they have available for the dollar dogs, because sometimes they run out of that. And if there's going to be many people that might be attempting this on Tuesday, which I doubt the sales staff are the only people that are going to be out there, trying to attempt this.
Especially
now.
Now that we're
with this being
air.
right. Well, with this being like a trend in this, social.
Is it like gymnastics where you go and tell the judges what you're doing on the floor routine? Like, hey, like to the vendor, like I'm performing the 999 challenge, so they give you like a specialty, like, hey, here's an extra couple beers in the 8th and 9th inning. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. Tex says there are different rules to the 999, traditional and non-traditional, just like OG doubleheader 2 for 1, and then a day-night doubleheader.
Oh yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. You just need an umbrella with a bunch of commissioners, and that seems to fix everything. Look at college football; it's going well. So,
yeah, that's exactly right. We'll see what happens with that. But I just thought it was,